everybody. Thank you so much for coming here and spending time with us. Alicia, thank you so much for sponsoring the panel. So just about designers today, you can, if you're a designer, if you're in the trade, you can go to our website, designerstoday.com, and sign up for a complimentary subscription where we send out 8 times a year, and a lot of times we're at different trade shows as well. So next year we'll hopefully be at KBIS with our magazine. All right, I am in the company of amazing women who I have gotten to know by telephone and by stalking them, their websites and their social media. But we've never actually, none of us have met in person, which is kind of unusual and strange for me, usually doing panels. But I'm going to read their bios, and then we're going to start talking. So Kate Campbell, over there. Kate Campbell is a carpenter and contractor that has been in the business for 13 years and has been featured on over 10 HGTV Canada shows. She owns and runs Kate's Contracting, a boutique company that specializes in real estate investment and development and is transitioning into custom home builds while documenting the whole process for YouTube. I started watching some of your shows, so that's how I kind of got to know her too. Kate uses her platform to encourage other women and girls to get into the trades, so much so that she formed the Build Women Up Foundation, which aims to raise money to support trades initiatives that encourage and help women get into the trades. She loves to travel, has climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, and backpacked around numerous countries, as well as building in New Orleans, the Bahamas, and across Canada. She's always up for adventure, loves to stay active, and is openly obsessed with Thai food. So that is Kate. Okay, Rebekah Zaveloff to my right. She has gone from being a completely obsessed designer to being an obsessed company owner. Actually, Rebekah wrote me an email, and I edited it down. So this is a lot of this, and I'm translating it from I to she. So I took out my favorite nuggets. As a designer, she would and still does analyze details and images of spaces that inspire her, always searching for what moves her, what makes one space stop her in her tracks, and another just meh. Now that she has 3 designers on staff, she's just as obsessed about having a company that's well-designed. And if you listen to podcasts, Luann Nagara's Well-Designed Business, that's where you took the word well-designed. One of Rebekah's new favorite things is running through her gorgeous, historic Chicago Wicker Park neighborhood and listening to Business of Design podcasts and TED Talks, finding amazing morsels of information and inspiration to help she and her husband, Nick, run a better company. Running a business has been her biggest challenge to date and more fulfilling than she could ever have imagined. So, thank you. Her business is called the KitchenLab, and it's beautiful, beautiful portfolio, beautiful website. Malene B, over there, far right. Malene Barnett is a cross-media artist and founder of Malene B Atelier, a New York-based art and design practice specializing in fine art, product design, and bespoke carpets. Her work has been commissioned by global corporations such as Viacom, WeWork, and Saks Fifth Avenue, and landmark office buildings, including the Astor, the Chatsworth, and the MetLife building. A cultural enthusiast and passionate entrepreneur, Malene collaborates with international artisans and commercial brands, most recently Cravat and Swell Bottles. She's the author of the Malene B Essentials e-guide series, a TEDx speaker, and an industry commentator for TV and radio. Her work has also been featured in leading international design and lifestyle publications, Luxe Interior and Design, Elle Decor, Interior Design, and House Beautiful. In addition, Malene is actively working towards changing the industry's representation and inclusion of Black artists, designers, and culture within the interior design trade. And I have to say, your Instagram is so compelling, so you must check it out. She is the founder of Black Artists and Designers Guild. You can see it on her t-shirt, a curated collective of Black artists and designers throughout the African diaspora. So great to meet you. Yeah. Okay. Val Malone in the lovely pink blazer. So Val was hired as the VP of Marketing at Canada's LIXIL Water Technology Americas. It's a heritage brand of 150 years and home to American Standard DXV, and is it pronounced Grow or? Growa. Growa. Yep. Okay. So they make pioneering water products. Well, within a year, she was named president and general manager of the company, and that seems very fast-tracked to me. So that's why I started with your prior, because that impressed me. Prior to LIXIL, Valerie has experience in multiple industries, including packaged goods, premium brands, and electronics. During her tenure at PepsiCo, she was greatly inspired by the leadership of Indra Nooyi, PepsiCo's former CEO. Val's leadership style is transparent and open. She says, "There's nothing I will not do." She sees each challenge as an opportunity to build muscle. Speaking of which, she greets each morning with a 5:30 a.m. workout. So that is Val. So, okay. We're going to do deep questions, and we're going to do those sort of one-word answer questions that just maybe pique your curiosity. But before I go on, can you hear me? We have a good connection? Okay. If you can't hear, please let us know. There's nothing worse than sitting in your seat going, "I can't hear," and not. So give us a symbol. Okay. So this is a one-worder. Okay. When you were little, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Artist.
Mother. National Geographic photographer.
Dancer.
Well, none of you are that right now. So, Val, I want to start with you. Sure. You wanted to be a mom, and you are a mom.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
But you are now running a giant corporation in Canada. So, was mothering just not enough? Was it?
So I had a child,
yes,
and I love her very much. She's changed my life. I also have a son. He's also wonderful. But very quickly, I recognized that I wasn't as good of a mother when I didn't balance myself with the other passions in my life, and my career being one of them, and inspiring and leading people being a big part of what I do every single day. That was so important to me, and it took me having children and trying to separate my time across both to recognize that I'm a better mom if I'm leading into what I love to do and what makes me happy, and to show my daughter and my son the passion for what I do every single day and what hard work looks like has become fundamental to me and to my family for sure. So it wasn't until it was there in front of me, I'm like, oh, this is not my calling. My calling is to be a mom and set a great example, right, not to just be a mom. So it was interesting for me for sure.
Kate, I was reading that you realized when you were, I guess, I don't know, in high school or at some point, that university was not going to be your path, the typical university, and you were going to go into the trades. So what was that like, realizing that, you know, you were probably different from a lot of your friends, and then penetrating the trade industry?
It was really interesting because I was academic in high school and was pushed towards the university or college route, and I feel like that's still the case these days, where often university or college is deemed as the only pathway to success. I actually talked to my guidance counselor about finding something outside of a college or university, because my number one was that I didn't want to sit behind a desk. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I didn't want to sit behind a desk, and was still pushed towards the university. So it wasn't until my parents, who are entrepreneurs, they kind of sat me down and said, "Kate, we don't care if you go to university, find something that you love doing." And that took all of the weight off of my shoulders of feeling like I had to follow a certain path. And that's when my mom actually found this trade school, and she was the one that pushed me into going to trade school and following my passion to build and to use my hands, and not really just follow the flock to university.
Were there other young women in your...
I was very fortunate because I found a trade school that was all women. So it was a safe environment that you could learn the craft before you had to go out into the world and step on a job site, which was very daunting to step into a world dominated by men. And there's automatically a microscope on you. So it gave me that little edge so that I knew I was confident in my abilities. And then out of that safe environment, I had so many opportunities presented to me because I had built up that confidence surrounded by other women.
So Malene and Rebekah, we'll start with Malene. How did you get clear on your path?
Ooh, hello everybody. Clear on which path?
Well, so from dancer So we had a discussion, and you're very creative, lots of arts going through you. So fine artist, you studied fine art, and then you really were jazzed by that cross-section of fine art and function, right? Yes. So when did you, that I feel like has been your, well, you've changed, I mean, you're multimedia.
Yes.
So
I could give you some backstory, so I guess this would help. You know, ever since I was 8 years old, I was painting and drawing because I was selected for an artistically talented program at elementary school. And from there, I just continued my creativity. My mother, she always instilled that we should try different things. And one of the things was the piano, because she was a classical pianist when she came to this country from St. Vincent in the Caribbean, and the violin. And I actually did all. And there was a point where I got to high school where I decided that I no longer wanted to play the violin or the piano, and I wanted to focus on fine art. And so I did. And I'm so glad that I did, because it was that moment in the 10th grade when I did a self-portrait inspired by the techniques from Chuck Close. I won an honorable mention in an art show. And this also gave me the confidence to say, yes, you did select the right path. And then from there, I went to college, and I studied painting and photography during my first 2 years of college at SUNY Purchase. And then I later realized, you know, I really wanted to get a little bit more into, say, commercial art and design, and I really love drawing people and fashion. And so at the time, I decided to transfer to the Fashion Institute of Technology, FIT, in New York City. And from there, I learned how to draw figures and fashion, but, you know, to be honest, during this time, we're talking 1992, they were not hiring fashion illustrators. And I knew I wanted to make a living, and I did not want to, you know, figure out how to make money, so I decided that it was time to look for another angle, but still be creative. And I've discovered it walking the halls at FIT, textile surface design. And that's where I discovered a match for what I love to do, which was draw and paint, use color, and then create a functional item. And then that is where I discovered carpet design, which I thought was like the match made in heaven. And once I graduated from college, I had a job as a textile designer, designing African print fabrics that was sold to every major fabric store across the U.S. and in the Caribbean as well. And I learned about making products from manufacturers. And then I realized that is where I wanted to stay. I did not want to be on the other side of just purely creating. I wanted to also design and make. And those experiences working with the manufacturers led me to where I am today. It's some of that I don't even need. We have like such a similar background, so yeah, she kind of told half of it. So I can jump in, and my path was similar, but it went a different direction towards the end, which is interesting. So I started out in fine art as well through high school. We probably were on a couple of the same competitions in high school, and I ended up going to a fine arts high school, a fine arts high school. The last 2 years of my high school experience, I kind of graduated early. I was also on an academic route, but knew that I did not want to do anything corporate or sit behind a desk. So we seemingly have that in common too. And then I went to UCLA. I studied fine art for 2 years there, and then I transferred to the Art Institute in Chicago. Part of the reason was that, and I actually had turned down a scholarship to RISD in high school because they wanted me to pick my focus. And I was like, I am so not prepared to pick a focus. I'm like all over the place. Because I started welding, I went into painting, I went into collage, and then eventually I ended up focusing in kitchen design. But the way I got there was similar. It's like I wanted to make a living. Liberal arts school, fine arts school just doesn't give you the skill set to go out and say, I mean, I would apply for jobs, or you'd see a list, and it's like I don't have certain skills. And it's interesting because I don't know if the schools have really changed that, but I think it's really important. And I think trade school or technical school or getting your associate's degree is worth every penny. So I went back to school while I was waiting tables. I was in the restaurant business, and that's kind of what I ended up deciding. It was like graphic design or interior design, and I chose interior design for different reasons. I mean, it was an interesting path for me. I couldn't reconcile turning my art into product. I don't think I had I think it would have depended on the school I went to and the focus and the influence, but for me at the time, I just didn't have that vision.
And when I went into interior design, I immediately fell into kitchens, which was just totally natural for me because that's my background. I mean, I grew up in the restaurant business since I worked in restaurants since I was 16. And I loved it. And so from there, it was just, there's never a day where I'm not learning something new. There's never a day where a project isn't different. I actually worked in film in a stint in between there. I worked in film set design for a while. And I realized that I wanted to make things that were permanent. So like, for example, you look around here and everything's a set, you know, and even in movies and TV, it's even more real looking. But then you tear them all down. It's crazy. And so that's kind of what led me into going back and getting my associate's degree. And then growing, you know, the business aspect of things. So for a long time, I was independent by myself, probably for 10 years. And then I decided I wanted to have a kid also. My husband and I have worked together. In the beginning, like it was like 70-25. It was kind of all me and a little bit of him. And then as we've gotten to the point, like I have no idea sometimes what's going on because he runs, you know, the business part of things. But we hired an assistant at one point, and then it grew to a second person, and now we have 3 designers on staff at different levels. And it's gone from, you know, I love designing. Every project I'm equally as passionate about, and I'm still really involved in that process. But I also love supporting the women who work for us, giving them the tools and the support that I never got. You know, I was literally thrown in the deep end, and I learned everything I know from the contractors that took pity on me on job sites. And I mean, it was amazing. And so I give them a lot of credit. And, you know, it's tough being a woman in the construction business. You have to be able to be assertive and strong and confident in your voice. You cannot let yourself get pushed around. And education is key. I mean, it's like knowing what you're talking about and being good at it. It's like, you don't need to prove anything, you know? And I'm actually speaking to a bunch of high school students tomorrow, like with a couple of other panelists. You should be on that. And it's so inspiring to see this next gen thing of like people trying to encourage kids to get in the trades, because I think in high school it's totally unrealistic that everybody's going to become an investment banker. It's just not going to happen.
And there's major deficit of trades happening in our industry.
Huge shortage of good people.
There is. So obviously these women are all like super motivated. So this is the one word answer. Do you have a song or mantra that like makes you feel unstoppable?
Like a boss, Marshall Montano. I always feel like a boss.
Write these down.
That's good.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Probably fairly cliche for the construction industry, but you can do it.
Oh, that's good.
Like, do you have a Post-it note? You know, I always find things on Instagram. I'm like, oh, that's good. Like, I don't really have one thing either that gets me, but I always know that song motivates me. And sometimes if I'm feeling a little bit down, which is our next question, it gets me, it makes me feel strong. So I have a friend who, if you think of it, let us know, because we can create a list, the unstoppable list. I have a friend, she's a coach, and she says that we all have these sabotaging voices, and she calls it the itty bitty shitty committee. It's the one that tries to make you smaller than you are, because we all have so much capacity to create things, right? So these women are so awesome, but we all have that IBSC. So I want to know, how do you shut that person on your shoulder, the person that wants to belittle you, how do you shut that off?
I can jump in. Okay. Is that okay? I actually met another designer at a Thermador event last year, and during Design Chicago, we were both on panels, and he was hilarious and fabulous, and he's further along in his business, and he posted on Instagram, remember when you wanted what you have. And I just thought that was amazing. Like, because I spent a lot of time beating myself about, why am I not here yet? Why am I not doing better at this? Why are we not further along? Whether it's, because I'm trying to grow the business and get it stable and make sure everybody's like happy and healthy and running their jobs well and things like that. And it's like, I'm just constantly striving. I'm constantly unsatisfied, and so that voice, I'm very fulfilled and I'm very grateful, but there's an element of being unsatisfied that motivates me. That is like, I want to do more. I want to do better. That's just how I'm wired, and you got to take a step back and breathe and be like,
find
I'm
your
good.
Grateful place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Val, what do you?
It's really interesting. I love this question. I work on it actively with my daughter, and I really believe that it starts from whoever you are, whatever walk of life you're in. It really is the confidence that you have in yourself. And so I term it your inner narrative. And I think that especially for my daughter who's 9, working with her to make sure that we understand her inner narrative and what she's telling herself every day, that's going to manifest into what she puts out into the world every single day. So I've tackled it with her through journaling. And so I'll journal with her and she'll write, and then I make sure that she takes a minute to reflect and say, okay, how are you talking to yourself? You don't need to tell me what you're saying. That's personal. If you want to share it, I'm here. But how are you talking to yourself? So for me, I do that constantly, and I pay attention to how I'm talking to myself. And there's always times in which you're hard on yourself because we all are hardest on ourselves. But recognizing it and then taking a step back and taking perspective and celebrating where you've succeeded and what you feel accomplished in is really important, and something I actively do with my 9-year-old today. It's been demonstrable for me. My grandmother taught me that. And it's been huge for me in my path, and I hope to share that with many, many young girls, starting with my daughter.
For me, it's kind of the same. It's not feeling good enough. I always hear, like, you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not intelligent enough, you're not a good conversationalist.
You tell this to yourself.
No. This is the voice that I hear, that I fight.
The voice, right.
What I do is I acknowledge. I don't, because I find you almost shame yourself for hearing those things. You're like, why am, like, so I actually acknowledge that I'm hearing that inner voice, and I don't shame myself for it, and you almost like make friends with it, so you know it's there. And then I've built my career on proving people wrong, so at the same time I kind of say to myself, okay, you might think that, but this is what you actually are, and this is what you've actually accomplished, and you are good enough, you are pretty enough, there's a really amazing slam poetry, I forget who actually does it, but it's something about feeling pretty, and she's talking all about, like, you are pretty intelligent, you are pretty, and it's not about a look thing, it's about all of that inner charisma that you have, and the intelligence and the education, and really just feeling good about yourself. So that at first you thought I was, I don't tell myself that constantly, but there's always that voice on your shoulder.
Malene, what does yours say? How do you get past it?
I make friends with fear, because at the end of the day, it's really about fear, and I embrace it. And I realize if fear is not speaking to me, then that means I'm not dreaming big enough. So whenever you have an idea, it's not about, I always say, it's not about having it be perfect before you start. It's about taking action, and you perfect it along the way. And so embrace it. Embrace that moment of that person or that voice that's telling you that, you can't. And you say, okay, well, guess what? You're coming right along with me on this journey. And we're going to do this, and we're just going to figure it out. And just keep on going.
So that's a perfect segue, because the next topic I want to talk to is idea and putting an idea into action. And I want to actually talk about Black Artists and Designers Guild and how that germinated or gestated and then putting it out there.
So I started a guild called the Black Artists and Designers Guild, and we're a curated collective of designers within the interior design trade, from furniture, textiles, ceramics, architecture, and interiors throughout the whole African diaspora. And as a young designer who was in design school more than 20 years ago, I was always the only one in my class. I was the only one in my field. And when it was time to look for role models, it was very difficult to find. And so I realized in the position that I'm in today, I wanted to use my voice in a different way and think about how I can bring the community together as far as the Black artists and designers to create a coalition for the industry to realize and recognize the importance of our talent and the importance of our culture that is constantly being used and stolen, and to recognize that we deserve the same recognition that everyone else. And so we just launched in November of just last year, 2018, and it started, the reality is this conversation that I've been having behind the scenes with my colleagues and other friends has been going on for a long time. So it's not anything new, it's just that I decided to bring it to the forefront. And I use social media as the platform to air out the dirty laundry that this industry appears not to want to address. And by doing that, it caught the attention of many of the media outlets, The design center that I called out in my post, if you want to look it up, just go back into my feed, it's there. But it also brought together the community in a different way, and people started to realize that what I was saying, it was all true, because we are not very visible. And as if you look in the audience right now, you could see we're not visible as we should be. There should be more of a balance in the community. And the reality is that there are plenty of talented black artists and designers, not just here in America, but across the world. And we need to be recognized. And that's how it started. I'm still in the beginning stages of the organization. And so as you could see from my philosophy, there's an idea, I took action, and I made it happen. Currently, there's a website, badguild.info, where it's an online directory. So no media outlet, a design center, any events where they need speakers, there's no excuse to say that I can't find any black designers. And so I put it in their face, and we are growing, and we're looking to create more opportunities, not just to grow our businesses, but for, speaking engagements like this, licensing, and, continue to grow and create the visibility.
I'm so excited by that. You all had a big party last week in New York, which
it was our launch.
Yeah, having major FOMO about that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun. But we also had an exhibition of the work and talent, and it was interesting because the people who came, it was at a luxury consignment furniture store. And there were textile designers, furniture, ceramics. We had a member that came up from Jamaica, the West Indies. We had members come from D.C., California, just to come to the party. Because it was the first time in a lot of our careers where we were in a room where we felt like we were not the only one. Mm-hmm. And we felt celebrated, and we felt acknowledged. And, the comments that I've been getting from people, it's like, wow, Malene, you really, this is not even just about getting work, and which of course we all want, but at the end of the day, we all want to be heard, seen, cared for, and respected. And that moment, people were like, the energy at the party, they've not felt that way for a design event in a long time, and it was good. So that's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Kate, your foundation, Kate, Build Women Up. How did that, you knew it was something that the industry needed, so how'd you get it into
Definitely. Going back to the all-women trade school, that was actually how I got my start in the industry, and I really do believe that if I hadn't had that trade school experience, I probably wouldn't be where I am today, and I probably actually wouldn't even be in the construction industry. So it got to the point in my career where I wanted to turn it around full circle, and one of my favorite sayings is, you can't be what you can't see. So I wanted to create a platform where there were more women showcased that are in the trades already, that also raises money to support female-only trade schools across Canada for now. So we raise money, we raise funds to put a spotlight on these incredible women that are already in the industry, so that young girls coming up into the industry are seeing that they can be in the industry as well, but also supporting trades programs across the country so that those programs are feeding the industry as well. So I just wanted to bring it back full circle. I feel very passionately about being in the trades, and again, feeling respected, welcomed. Women only represent something like 7% of the skilled trades industry, so working on increasing that number as well, and kind of transitioning my career a little bit into mentoring and giving back within the industry.
The idea of mentoring, and Val, in your world, your corporate world, how does mentoring, like in your company, as a leader, do you mentor other women and other men, and
For sure. Anyone on my team, there's a few of them in the audience today, so anyone on my team, I know everyone says they have an open door policy, but I really do. And I will have a conversation with anybody about anything. And I think I had shared this with you. I have this conversation with everyone who works on my direct staff and everybody who is people leaders. And the way that I tackle progression for people within their role is to really stop and think, and I ask them one question. I want people to take a step back, sit in the chair, and pretend that today is the day that you are retiring. And wherever you are, in whatever walk of life, you are sitting back and saying, I have made it. I'm accomplished. And I want you to answer two questions for me. Number one, what industry are you in? And if you want to understand what industry you should be in, and you're trying to figure that out, Go back to your Google search history. Look at Pinterest. Look what you follow. Understand when you don't have to, where you spend your time. That's going to tell you where you should be focusing your energy. And number 3, I want you to describe for me what you're doing. Don't give me a job description. Tell me what you're doing. Are you leading people? Are you working in construction? Then base every decision that you make about your career from this point or forward based on critical experiences that are going to allow you to achieve what you want to from either an industry perspective or a job description perspective. Every job, don't pay attention to title, don't pay attention to progression, don't beat yourself up if you think you took a step back. Are the critical experiences that you're getting helping you to achieve your end state? And if you use that as your yardstick, as you're making decisions about yourself and your career, you're always going to feel fulfilled. So I do that with my staff, and I encourage them. Someone did that to me a long time ago, and I credit it for, I'm a young leader in Canada, and I credit that success that I've had to not focusing on the steps that everyone says you need to take, but focusing on where I want my end state to be and making sure I was getting those critical experiences to make an impact. So I do that with everybody on my team, but I've had a very, very blessed career and I got to work in a number of different organizations, and I stay very close with a number of people I've worked with and continue to work with them and mentor them because someone did it for me. And I think it's really important that whatever you receive from the universe, you need to put that back out. So I always do that.
I'm just curious, people in the audience, if you're in a mentoring relationship, if you mentor or are being mentored, raise your hand. Less than half, but okay. Rebekah, you wrote me a beautiful email, just, trying to get to know each other through email. It's different than in person. And I know we're going to spend time and hang out in Miami, but that's in the future. So I'm going to read something from your email and then direct the question to you first. I think everybody will relate to this. Okay, Rebekah says, I want to get real with people, not talk about how great everything is. I'm not a fan of going to speaking events where the person makes it seem like they were born a fully formed designer or business owner without struggle. There's more. Oh.
It was not.
Oh, it's good. I actually brought it with me, but I took... I want to find out, and this is actually your question that I'm posing back to you. I want to find out how other fabulous women and men are managing things in a way that brings them joy with the struggle. Because that is, I whine, I love my job, but, it's hard. So how do you manage things in a way?
Oh, boy. So first off, that's the first part of it is totally true. I just think that there's a lack of honesty and frankness in many things I've been to, where you go to a speaking event and you're like, wow, that person. Either they were a trust fund baby, or they or they had a really good divorce settlement, but I'm not really sure how they went from A to B. And how they got to the next level of growing their business. Because, in this day and age of social media, everybody just puts the filtered version on everything. And I am all about unfiltered. I'm all about just kind of brutal honesty. I'm just not good at bullshitting. And so I just have to say it as it is, because it's just really awkward for me to say it any other way. And I love having real conversations with people, and I am beyond blessed to be 44 years old and have such strong relationships with women, people in business, friendships I never thought I would have when I was in my 20s and younger. It's amazing. And so when you put yourself out there in the universe and you really make yourself vulnerable and you're willing to be who you are and just say, like you said about just saying hi to someone at a bar and saying, hey, why are you here? And what I spent 2 hours Sunday night talking to 2 women randomly at a bar, at a restaurant bar. That's where, again, it's like where women, can feel safe to have dinner by themselves. A whole other subject. But nevertheless, it's one of those things that I just really believe in, and it's part of how I want to give back. And so when I am asked to do things like this, I'm an NKBA insider this year, and I said yes to doing it because I want to see what it's about, what the next generations are about. One of the things that we really struggle with, my husband and I, is finding good talent. I mean, it's how do you find good employees when you're a small business and you don't have a huge company to filter them and field them? And plus, I want to get to know the people that I'm interviewing. I can't trust someone else to do that. And I want them to feel like when they walk in the door, they're home. I mean, they have found their home. They have found their family. They care about what we're doing. They care as much about it as we do. I don't expect them to work as hard or be as obsessed as I am. But I want them to get up in the morning and be excited to go to work, love who they work with, and then be able to turn it off at the end of the day and take care of themselves, get their workouts in, not let clients eat at them and stress them out and make them feel bad. I mean, we all have high maintenance, difficult jobs and difficult clients. Not everybody's going to be a walk in the park. I mean, that's the other thing about designers and firms that are, have hit that mark of what people see as success. It's like, they always talk about how they have no budget. That is just not true. Everybody has a budget. I have really wealthy clients, and it's like there's always a budget. What's the budget? And so how do they manage having conversations about money with very wealthy people that are making big decisions?
That's a really good panel discussion.
It is.
Talking about money is always a great...
And it's like, I think a lot of firms talk as if it's just easy for them. It just comes easy. And I mean, I'm good at it. I'm a natural at being able to talk to people and filter, form trust, but not everybody is.
No.
And how do you train people to get there? And for me, it's come through trial and error and experience, not because I was just born that way, even though my mother is incredible. She can sell anything to anybody. But... So that's kind of where it came from for me. And for me, my husband and I look at each other. I mean, we talk about business 24 hours a day. We live and work together. We live and work out of our building. And at the end of the day, we look at each other and we are like, is this worth it? You have to ask yourself at the end of the day or end of every week, is this worth it? Am I fulfilled? Is the stress level... can I wake up tomorrow and try to do better and take care of myself and run this business?
And I also think, Leanne, is it time for questions already, or no?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. Because I have like 30 more questions. But just, at the end of the day, and I'm grappling this with right now, turning around a magazine in a year and being very busy, is like, what else? What else? So beyond the work, I mean, you two have these wonderful things. You're guiding water. I mean, we all need water, what's that? That's a big responsibility, Val.
Well, it is, but it's also really awesome. So we have the ability, and I actually have my VP of marketing here today, and she's working on, why we do what we do every day. And we firmly believe as an organization and with my VP of marketing that if you lean into why you do what you do every day, that you're going to win. So I work for LIXIL, which is American Standard. It is our responsibility to make sure we protect the planet. It's our responsibility to make sure that from a water perspective that we are, in fact, a leader in a solution. It's not because we're a company that sells faucets and toilets. It's because we are a leader in this space, and it is, in fact, our responsibility to start there. And the great thing about it is it's powerful. It's a movement. And when you talk to people, regardless if they're a plumber, a contractor, an end user, a designer, when you talk to them about doing what you do every day because it is your responsibility, and it is your responsibility to ensure that we have safe, functioning products that protect the planet, no one can argue with that. It's a movement. People get behind that. And so I'm very, very lucky and blessed to get to do that every single day. Have a great team that helped me with it. And so to your earlier question, not everything is glamorous. I shared with you that I will do everything. I will literally hand bomb toilets at the back of the DC. I will do absolutely anything because it's important to understand. But at the end of the day, I can put my head down at night and know that me and my leadership team are working hard to make a difference, and we're contributing back to the universe. And that's what makes me feel fulfilled.
Yeah. So speaking of at the end of a day, I'm just curious, how many hours of sleep do you get, Malene?
Between
on average?
6 or 7. 6 or 7 if I'm lucky.
That's good.
Yeah.
Kate?
I need my sleep, so I'm usually about 8 hours.
Val?
I'm probably 6 or 7 as well, but it's not uninterrupted. I have 2 young children, so it's on and off.
I need 8 for sure. Yeah, and I can sleep hard.
I'm at about 4 to 5. I know. Well, that's really because I always feel like I'm not getting enough done. Like I haven't. So tell me, in a day or in a week, do you ever feel caught up? Are you caught up? Is there,
That doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. How do you stay on track? Do you have tools, apps? What helps you stay on with it and get things done?
I use different things. I'm a little old school where I'll write a list on paper, on a pad with paper. Yep. But then I also use apps. So I'm a Google Drive person. Not like we need to promote Google, but that's what I use.
I use it too, but not for...
I use it to store everything, access to photos, documents, sheets, whatever. I mean, it's on my phone, so most of my work is done through my phone these days. So it's a powerful tool. So I'm really big into apps. I mean, I use WhatsApp to communicate with manufacturers overseas. I'm about being able to do my work anywhere based on how I live, because I don't want to have to be tied to a desktop in order to get my work done. And the beauty with technology is that it allows us to be able to function no matter where we are. And then when I need to shut down, I shut down. Guess what? I didn't post today on Instagram. It's okay. It's not that serious anymore. I mean, when it first started, it was like this urge, okay, I have to do it. But no, you really don't. You really don't. And, I really, even with, say, social media now, I think we need to be more mindful of what we're saying. I know personally, I wanted to become more mindful. I was never into, do a selfie every other day. It was like, what are you actually saying? How are you contributing to the community? What legacy do you want to lead? And so when you learn about your purpose in life, which I've learned a long time ago, which is to inspire people, everything I do is based on that purpose. And so when you align yourself with that, there's like no question of how you want to function day to day. And you set your boundaries of what you're going to do and what you're not going to do, and be okay with it. And I always say, God willing, tomorrow's another day. Right. And if I'm supposed to do it, I'll do it. And what's for me will be there for me tomorrow.
Oh, I love that. I'm learning right here, right now. And purpose. Kate, what do you feel like is your purpose right now?
My purpose has, again, shifted, where I feel like I want to tell my story, I want to share other people's story, but I also want to be passionate about what I'm doing and wake up every day excited to do whatever we're doing that day. That's why I chose this industry, because every day is a different challenge, and I embrace those challenges. Like the question earlier, I was thinking, like, you just become comfortable with failure and with rejection and with making mistakes, and it's a part of your everyday. And that's kind of what makes the industry fun as well. So my purpose would be to find something that makes my life exciting and feel purposeful every day. In my career, in my personal life, in travel, in everything that you do.
Val? Yeah.
I would say that my purpose is to inspire people to make change. And so I say to everyone, my daughter, my staff, every single person, if you ever go through a week where you're not feeling a little anxious in your belly, you're not pushing hard enough. You build muscle. When you're training for a marathon, you're building muscle, and it hurts and it's painful. And life and those lessons are like that. When something's difficult or it hurts or you have to push to get through it, you're building muscle. So I really want to be the person that inspires everybody from every walk of life to take a look at themselves and make sure that they're pushing to drive change. Because we all need to move forward in some way, and I think it's really, really important as human beings we're pushing forward and making the right change. So that's how I'd answer that.
Rebekah?
You must be a good mom. I would say, it's funny. At first I was like, wow, I don't know if I know what my purpose is. That's kind of funny. I mean, my mom and I still joke that I'm like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Because she still doesn't know what she wants to be when she grows up. But as you were speaking, I realized that, my husband says this a lot. He's always saying moving forward. And it's not about, it's like just moving forward in time. It's always like, we need to move forward. We need to keep moving forward. And it's not this sense of like, oh, we have to grow, and it's like this business concept of moving forward. It's more about like, I just want to experience as much as possible in life. I want to see as many places. I want to meet as many people. I want to learn every day. I'm just on a constant, since I was very young, it's like once your mind is open to growth and awareness, there's no closing that door. You just can't go back. I mean, it's just like, I will never be satisfied if I'm not learning, growing, expanding.
I would say for me, lifelong learning and sharing, telling stories, getting stories out of people, and connecting people is really what I love to do. So I just want to know, this is one of those quick questions, what is your guilty pleasure time suck? I mean, you know, is it Words with Friends and Ruzzle, my games? That's my time suck. You know, and then I'm like, what? Oh my God, where did the night go? Do you have?
I wish I need one. I don't. I just truly. Ever since my daughter was turned like 4. I mean, I haven't watched a television show in like 2 years, and I kind of miss it. I kind of miss just being brain dead for an hour. I mean, but it's like there just isn't enough time in the day to learn all the things I want to learn. So what I found is I need to be able to check out. I recognize that I'm not turning off, and then I kind of start to burn out. So TED Talks now and podcasts are kind of my thing, because then I can feel like I'm checked out. My brain is not doing anything but focusing on one thing, and it's listening to someone else. And then moving while I'm doing it is really important. So I like to walk and do that kind of thing.
Multitask, yes.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. I have to throw something else in there.
That's a really interesting question, because I've just actually gone through this struggle around not beating myself up for taking my own inner dialogue, not beating myself up for taking the time to sit on a couch and flip through a magazine, because I run full tilt all the time. So I shouldn't feel guilty about taking 5 minutes for me. I satisfy a lot in a day. But yeah, for me, I get sucked into magazines on the couch.
Magazines are important.
I know.
Very.
They're awesome. They're inspiring. So that's where I get sucked in. But I've literally just gone through this. I'm not going to feel bad about this. I deserve this. But that's my guilty pleasure.
I don't feel guilty at all. I binge Netflix. Yeah, guilty pleasure. Late at night. Yeah, that's my thing.
I love the internet, okay? I love it. I'll stay on there for hours, and I own it. And I'll go down the rabbit hole here. I just love researching. Yeah. So me and Google, we're friends, as you can know. See, Google Drive, Google on the line.
Sure you don't work for them?
I know, I need a job there. I probably make more money. Anybody with Google out there? So anyway.
I'm sure they're around. Again, so I'm supposed to leave some time for questions, and I don't have a watch. So is there... Can somebody tell me 10 of? Would somebody out there like to ask some questions of our esteemed, fabulous, diverse panel? Okay.
Whoa.
Okay. Testing. My name is Mary. I'm an interior designer, specializing in kitchen and bath from San Diego. And one comment on the SBC, I heard a quote once, and it says, start off every day, look in the mirror and smile and get it over with. And so I try that, and it does work. It just wake up, you're a little bit grumpy, look in the mirror and smile, and you feel a little bit more positive. I've been a mentor to over 30 interns from Mesa College in San Diego that was just voted one of the best design colleges in the United States. If people get a chance to be a mentor to an intern in the design field, it's very, very rewarding. I take my interns on measures with me. They help in the showroom with clients, and clients are extremely interested in that I have an intern, and the interns give fresh ideas, and they learn a lot, and I take them everywhere with me on all my appointments. So if people get a chance to take on interns, it's very valuable. And also had a question for Kate. I'm going to be giving a talk for a career day at my daughter's school, and they're 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And I did it last year, and I always push about the trades. I had stats on how many electricians we're going to need, how many carpenters, plumbers, electricians, tile setters in the future. And it's just so sad, because where are all the journeyman plumbers, the journeyman carpenters? We're losing the trades. So I really am interested in knowing more about how to create more people that will go, young people that will go into the trades?
That is a loaded question because we need to do a lot, and there's a lot of different avenues. But one thing that we're implementing in Canada, there's an organization outside of the government called Skills Canada, and they actually go to different schools and they do try-a-trade events. And this is for grades 5 to 8, and I really do believe that you have to get to those students before they actually go to high school, because by the time you get to high school, you already kind of have that set in your mind what you want to do a little bit. So these programs actually bring electrical, plumbing, they weld, they allow you to use the tools, and they bring all of the students in. It's not an option. It's like, okay, we're going to go do this and show you that this is an option. I personally think that this needs to be just a course that's involved in elementary school already, and it's not something outside of school. Like, bring shop classes back instead of eliminating them, and that's a huge problem in Canada and in the US. So that's a bigger issue that won't happen quickly because it's actually going the opposite way. But there are programs available to young kids so that they can at least try out certain trades. So that's what I would say needs to happen a little bit more. And I'm associated with that program as well, so it could be something that's North America-wide at some point.
Oh, thank you very much.
Great question, though. And I love speaking about it. So
thank you.
Anybody else have a question?
Not necessarily a question, but Kate's my wife, or my husband, wife. Kate's my wife. There we go. Got that figured out. Jane, you did a wonderful job. I get a chance to see a lot of talks that Kate's involved with. You did an absolutely wonderful job. To the rest of the panelists, you are all incredible women. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep inspiring people, because we need more people like you guys. So hats off to you guys.
Thank you.
That's part of my confidence.
Well done.
I actually, I have a question for Kate, actually, because I am sure that in what you do, you get some comments that are just horrible and dreadful from unenlightened people in the industry. And I'm just curious how you how you communicate back to, sexist comments.
I didn't start in this industry with thick skin, so I actually had to build up the confidence. I would get comments like, go home, you're taking a man's job, do you even know how to use that tool, you don't belong here. And to be honest, I used to go home, I wouldn't say anything, and I would go home and I would cry, and I would question whether I was supposed to be there. But you get to the point where you grow the skill sets and the confidence to actually look that person in the face and tell them, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm here because I belong here. I deserve to be here. It took a long time, though, because you can hear 100 positive comments, and you'll get one negative person that says something to you, and that will be the one thing that cripples. It'll topple your house of cards. So
that's so unfair. Just that ratio, right? I mean, one little thing, and it ruins your day.
And I think that goes for most people. That's yeah.
Well, that's why the internet is what it. I mean, it's why you see negative posts, and people tell me that they saw a review of an appliance. I'm like, when was the last time you wrote a review about something you liked? Exactly. Most people don't. They complain. So it's like a negative. It's the negative thing. I think what is it? The restaurant business, like, for every 6 positive diners, 1 bad comment can cripple a restaurant.
I think it's important to just let those comments fuel you. Just like I said, rejection, negativity, failure. If you believe in what you do, those things just add to the fire, and you kind of look back and you're like, well, it was all worth it, and you feel better about it because there is no clear path to anything, any career. You're going to have to work hard. You're going to fail. So it's just finding that career that's worth it. I don't know the time. Anybody out there before I go ahead?
You know what? I'll just give you my.
Just going out. I like it.
Thank you. So this is for those of you that have your own businesses now. I was just wondering, for somebody that is really urging to make it and break out on my own, what would you recommend starting out? A mentorship or entrepreneurial classes? What would be, I guess, the best way to start?
First, buy a house. Buy property, and I'm not joking. make sure that your home is strong before you do anything. Because guess what? When you're on your own, it's hard to get a mortgage as a self-employed person. Okay? That's what I tell everybody. And they laugh, but it's the truth. Make sure your house is set, like it's solid. Okay? After that, definitely take courses. Don't be afraid to go back to like a community college, continuing ed of any sort. There's a program, I don't know where you're located, but I don't know if you heard of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program.
I'm all the way in Hawaii.
Oh, you're in Hawaii, okay. So, but there are websites, of course, that have a lot of online access. But if you're in Hawaii, there are plenty of universities where you could attend and take small business classes. I did that when I was in college. I took many classes. Even outside of the classroom, network with organizations, specifically say women business organizations, because we are more inclined to be supportive on this journey, and align yourself with, you know, as many business owners as you can, and be open. Network like crazy, but make sure your household is solid.
Great advice.
We could go on, but we have to wrap it up because another panel is starting in a minute. So thank you so much. This has been fun. Thank you for coming.